we are going to learn how to do cross tabulation table using survey data. So this is the notes that I'm going to use today. If you can search it, this is from our studio actually. Alright, so for cross tabulation, the rationale of using cross tabulation is that if you have a function that is the exploration, and we need to do some simple tabulation of respondent counts and proportion, including we can either have a frequency for the row and column, and then we need to develop a join table, and after that we are going to calculate the grand margin or the grand total. If we can develop the cross tabulation table, we can do some what we need to, some test statistic, for example chi-square. So it is very important for you to actually know how to develop cross tabulation table. Okay, so for cross tabulation table, there are several. Let's try to do this first. I'm going to copy the command lines that we have. First, we try to create example data. So let's see what happened. Alright, so in this case, first we are creating the new data. We have ID. For ID, we do the sequence start from number 1 up to 177, and then we have age, sample, and then we assign the number either 0, 1, 5, and then we are replacing for everything. And then we have variable sex, country, health, head survey. For head survey, we are creating the using data frame. So we are combining age, so sex, country, and health. So if we are looking at the survey, but then just the head, we can see this. This is what's happening right now. So this is example data that we have. Alright, so next, we are trying to, actually right now, I'm loading the function. You can create the function, but it is going to be quite difficult. So right now, there's someone out there already do this for you. So you just need to load the function. And sometimes you can use several packages. They already have the function that can be saved inside the packages. Right now, I'm just loading the functions. Alright, so what happened is that if you load the function right now, you can use, we are trying to create cross tabulation table. So in order for you to have cross tabulation, we need to create the frequency count. So right now we already have the function named as cross tab. Alright, so this is the frequency counts, and then from the data survey, row variables is for age, and then we have the column, sex, and then type, frequency. So right now we have the summation. This is because you look at this is the frequency count, and then this is actually for row. Alright, row percentage. Okay, we have the summation. So right now we are going to do the row percentage. Okay, so we have the summation right now, 100% at the end. So previously, the first command line, this is actually trying to do the summation for columns and rows. So what happened, we have 177 because during the first, when we are creating the data, the sample survey, we are actually using the sequence from number 1 to 177. So by right, we are having 100. The grand total of the respondent is actually 177. So this is what happened. So this is the command line that needs to use if you are trying to do the row percentages. So right now we have the summations. 100%. And then if you want to use for the columns, so this is the command line for columns. If you can see here, what is the difference? Everything is the same. Data is using the survey data. The row variables we have age. So this is the row, and then for the column we are actually using the categorical variable, which is gender, female and male. So if you want to change, we can use this either way. You can use hex here. If you use hex here, so that means that the column is now going to be the row. So row are going to have 2. Okay, if you want to change. And then for the percentages, we are trying to calculate for the column. So for the type, we are writing here as C. So that's why we got for the summation, for the percentage. So here is the answer. If you want to calculate the percentage for row, so this is what you have to do. So you can compare between the output that we have in the console. So we have calculated the frequency count, the row and the column percentages. So right now we are trying to create the join percentage. So let's see what can be used. For join percentage, alright, let's run this command line. So you can see here for crosstab, data still survey, and then rows, we are still using age and sex. So what happened right now, you are actually dividing the row first age by age, and then for each classes of age, we have this is the first class, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then after that, we are dividing the age class into female and male. So this is what happened if you use this. And then for the columns, we are use categorical for health, and then for health we have average, good and poor, and then for type we have J. So what is J? So let's take a look here what happened. So for this one, we are calculating the joint percentages. So we have the percentage. Here is the percentage, the summation, and then summation, and then this one is the total for this group, and this one is the summations, and then the total for this group should be equal to 100, and then you're going to get the joint percentages. All right, so this is what happened. You can try this. We have so many examples. If you want to calculate the total percentages for each summation to 100 across entire table. So let's try to run and see what happens. So first we have joint percentages. Right now we are trying to calculate for the total percentages. So let's see. So the first one, if you can see here, 35 plus 23 plus 41, you're going to get 100. So this is also the same with 61 plus 38, you're going to get 100. But then for this new command, what we have right now, instead of 35, right now for the summation, we're going to get 6.78, 4.52, 7.91, and then you total up everything, you're going to get 19.21. And then if you total the value 19.21, and then you plus with 19.21, and then you plus for the next one, you plus with the next one, the next value, and then you are going to get the total equals to 100. So this is what happened actually. The total percentages sums to 100 across entire table. The previous one sums to 100 within final 2 table dimension. So this is the 2 table dimension. Within this one, within this one, we are going to get 100. If you want to calculate across entire table, so we need to use this command, cross type is T. So this is just the difference. The difference between these two tables is J and T. It depends on you. What do you want in your analysis? Okay. So next, let's try to look at the table marginal supported by crosstab. For table marginal, so table margin options supported by crosstab are you can either have all margin, additional margin through the default. So this is the default. Note that the table of type row and then column, only the appropriate row or column table marginal is added. So if it is not possible for them to calculate, you are not going to get the answer for that margin value. So let's try to do this. We need to calculate for all margins, and then we are using the default setting. Can you see that? All right, I'm going to put enter. All right, so let's see what happened. Can't really see this actually. Alright, so for all margins, we are calculating for all margins, and then we are using the defaults. So for crosstab data survey row, we are still using H and sats, and then for column, we are using helps, and then type is F. F, if you remember, actually we are calculating the frequency counts, so you can check the differences. So by default, if we have the margin, they are going to calculate the margin for you. So let's see what happened. Alright, so 6, 6, 12. So we got the value 21. So this is the calculation. So the total is 177. No problem right here. If you do not want to calculate the margin, so you just need to change the command line. So how? Actually, we just need to change this one to false. So let's see what happened. Let's copy this one, paste, and then no margin. So this one is for no margin. This one is add margin. So you need to add margin equals to false. Alright. So the changes right now, after you have type F, and then you add this one. So let's see what happened. Run. So you can see here, there's no more calculation for the margin. So this is the first one, the previous one. This is the margin, and margin is true. Add margin equal. If you don't add margins equals to true, automatically the cross tabulation are going to show you the margin value. So if you do not want that one, you need to write additional command like I did just now. Add margins equals to false, then you are not going to get the summation over here. Okay, so this is how, if you do not want the margin, so I need to change this one, AFL. Okay, so how to do okay, let's say you just want to have the grand margins on this, so the total. So copy, paste for grand margins. Grand margin, I hope you know what I'm talking about right now. For grand margin only. So for grand margin, the subtotal equals to false. So this one, let's see what happened. Run. So if you can see here, the previous one, there's no margin at all because we put that at margin equals to false. And then the previous one, we did not say anything. So by default, R are going to calculate the margin for each sub table that we have in cross tabulation table. And if you just want the grand margins or the grand total, so this is what happens. Subtotal equals to false. What do you mean by subtotal? If you look at the first table, we have sub. This one, this way, we have sub. We have sub. So we are actually trying to say that no more subtotal. We just want to have the grand total. So this is what happened. Subtotal equals to false. So no subtotal, but then they're going to give you the grand margin. So for next, we are going to do the percentages and decimal places. So let's do the example. Okay, I'm going to copy the command line. Okay. To calculate proportion rather than percentages. So you do not want to use percentage, you want to use the proportion. So let's see what's different in the command line. If you can see here, if you're using the cross tabulation table, this is the cross tabulation table. If you do not state anything cross tab, we just state the data, what are the variables for the row, for the column, and then the types. F10 for what. So if you do not say anything, by right, R are going to assume that you want to have the percentages. So in order for you to say that you do not want the percentage, you need to write this one. Percentages equals to false. So if you state this one, automatically you are not going to get the percentage. You are going to get the actual proportion, the actual value based on the data that we already have. So proportion is actually, you know how to calculate proportion, right? So I do not have to mention that. Okay, so this is what happens if you want to have the proportion instead of percentage. So if you want to have to round the output, so we do not want the percentage, but we want the decimal places. We only just want to have one decimal places. So this is what happened lah. So if you want 2 decimal places, you can write it 2. If you want to write it 5, it depends on you. So let's try to run this one. So this is what happened. You're only going to get the first decimal places instead of the first one. Okay. So let's try to do something more for high dimensional. Let's say, okay, there are so many good people in this world. They are sharing the code actually. We do not have to write yourself. You just need to copy the codings, the command lines, and then you need to do the changes according to what you want in R. So for this one, we are creating a table with 2 rows and 2 columns. So the previous one, we just have one variable, age and sex, and then for the previous one, we have 2 variable for columns, and for row we have age and sex, and then for the column we have 1. Right now we are creating 2 variable for columns and for rows, and then for the column we want it to be 2, health and country. So type is F. So if you forgot, you need to refer what is F. You can look at the example. So F is this one, frequency count. And then we do not want to have the margins. We do not want R to calculate the margin, so you need to state it false if you do not want it to be quite complicated. So let's take a look what happened if we change the code like this. So this is what happened. So we need to look at this one quite bigger. Let's need to do some changes if you want to look at the output clearly. You need to look at your screen big enough for you to see the actual. I'm going to do, okay, this is what happened actually. Can you see that? I need to run it down. So let's take a look at this. You can look at your screen if you have big enough. I need to move this if you want to see the whole data set. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. Okay, can you see this? So this is what happened. So we are complicating the cross tabulation table by adding extra variables in the column. So this is what happened. So I do some changes to my screen just now so that you can see everything. Okay, so let's try to look at so this one. So let's see. Okay, we are creating from survey data. We just want to see the row each. So if you state this one, so automatically for the column, you are going to get the counts and the totals. And if we want to use the previous example that we saw, that we did just now, we just want the type, just one type, for example, T, F, so J, R. So right now, let's try to do some more than one type. So what happened? So we are using cross tab, data state survey, and for row each column we're using SACs, and for type we want to combine F. F is frequency, and C. If you remember what is C, if you don't remember, you check it back. This is actually for column percentages. So, and then I do not want to have the margin, so I just add margins equals to false. So let's try to run this one. So this is what happened. For this one, the changes is that we are calculating the frequency, the percentage. In terms of percentage, look at this. We have the column percentage, and we also have the frequency for counts and then percentage. But each of these is actually for female, and this one male, and this one male. So let's see what happened. Okay, so next we are trying to output display format. We are trying to use the style to we do some changes to the style. White. So this is quite compressed together, and then for this one, you want it to be white enough. So you can calculate. You can type the word style equals to white. So the previous one is all the default size. So right now, if you run it, you're going to get better in terms of space in between the values. But I don't think it is quite slightly actually. There's not that wide. But you can see here the changes in terms of the value. Percentage total, male, female. Okay. If we have another style, the style, we call it as long. Let's see what is. So instead of by column, there are your data right now. The changes is that the total are being counted below instead of by columns. So this is for style equals to long. Do we have any other style? So So that's it for cross tabulation table. So there's so many types of function, but then right now what I'm using in this exercise, in this example, is this one from William. You can use any other function, or you can develop it. You can write your own user defined function, but the simplest one is actually just use some other programmer already shared their function. You just can find the right source, or if you do not know where to find the source, you just need to know which packages that can be used to calculate the cross tabulation table. So the bottom line is that as long as you know how to use the functions, definition of the function, how it works, it can be quite simple for you to do the changes towards the command lines that you already have. So this is for cross tabulation table. Thank you.